Genji 2 is an action game which is based on Japanese history. Being based on history, the stages of the game will also be based on famous battles which actually took place in ancient Japan. So here's this giant enemy crab.
It's a lot of work. See, Tsun would know. He hosted once. He knows how hard it is.
Tsun, do it.
You know, sometimes I'm like, they don't fucking need me.
Then you remember.
You are the railroad
And then
sphere.
I remember.
You keep us on track.
Oh man, that's sad. That's the saddest shit in the world. How is that even possible?
Oh no.
Oh shit. All right. Well, welcome to another episode of Crab Bag. Thank y'all for joining us. I'm your host, Fliz. We've got Kylar and Tsun and Strider. And the boys are here. We're here to talk about something near and dear to at least one of our hearts, I'm sure. It's the new Elden Ring Nightreign DLC question mark? I don't know what it is exactly.
It's a spin-off game.
Okay. So the cousin to Elden Ring. I don't know anything about it except what we'd seen before. The only one of us who really does at this point is Strider. So yeah, I wasn't even allowed to play. We found out that it's a PS5 exclusive at the moment to get into the beta test. And
PS5 or Xbox Series whatever. I don't remember what their letters are that they use.
Series 4, Chapter 8. That's the only Xbox allowed to play it.
How long till Xbox just has fucking naming schemes like the Bible verses?
Xbox 1115, thou shalt not be broke. So Strider, what do you got for us? What's it like? What's it like to be once again in the world of Elden Lords and Maidens and Spirit Stones? Runes,
Spirit
right?
Runes.
What are Spirit Stones?
I don't know, man. Just fucking tell me about Nightreign.
So what do you know to start with?
Well, I know there's a Guns N' Roses song called Night Train, but I don't know anything about Nightreign.
Fight Big Boss.
Okay.
Many time.
So first and foremost, because we'll go for the way I experienced it. Because first day of the network test, absolute disaster for PlayStation.
Hell
I woke up.
That I did hear.
I woke up at 5 because also these tests were either at 6 a.m. or they were at 10 at night were the two times. They each lasted for 3 hours. There were 5.
Oh, you gotta wanna be there.
So I took a 2-hour nap before the network test in the morning, woke up for it, and I got about to run around the hub world for about 10 minutes, trying out some of the characters and some of the equipment just to see what was in there. Because they've changed the hub up. There's a training area which goes over your new abilities, like how to use them. And then once I actually went to try and play matchmaking servers broke. And then after about 35 minutes of matchmaking being broken, they just shut the servers off for the entire rest of the test.
Sounds good. I'm about it.
So not the strongest first impression. I gave up after about an hour and a half. I went to bed. I was like, I'm not staying up because I know they're not going to fix this.
Dang, that sucks.
And then Xbox had no problem during this time. Like it was just the PlayStation server specifically.
Oh shit! Checkpoint. Fuck. Checkmate. There we go.
Checkpoint.
Sorry.
But yeah.
Checkmate. PlayStation.
But this
Didn't they just have that big outage? Like, was that during the same time?
that was earlier this month. I want to.
I'm losing time.
Yeah, I think it was down for almost a full day. PSN in total.
Okay, that didn't have anything to do with this though. This was just a bad start.
This was just a bad start.
Gotcha.
Okay. So day 1, oof. What about day 2?
Well, the day 1's night session worked flawlessly.
Oh,
by comparison.
Well, it either works or it doesn't. So,
I personally had no issues, but I saw a few people were still having some issues. I saw reports of, but first match, the character I ended up playing for basically all of day one because I wanted to try to learn one character and then get a win in if I could on day one. Was I went with the
Well, before you,
Oh.
sorry to interrupt, but like, what is I know it's 3 players, right? And it's a roguelike. I don't know what that really means in this context. And like, I'm like, all I know is Elden Ring. You start in the world and then you progress. Is this kind of the same?
So
Um,
each match lasted 30 to 40 minutes if it went the full length. So you have your hub, which is where your meta progression will happen. Because like one of the main ones was relics, which are you could equip into 3 different slots, which were kind of like the bloodstones from Bloodborne that like modified your weapon.
gotcha.
And they would be anything from basic bonuses like here's a little bit more health to like create like always deal frostbite on your attacks to like create lightning when you dodge roll.
Gotcha. So there's your roguelike element.
Yep. Your character would choose like there were 4 classes available. The Wilder, I think is how you say it, which had his whole gimmick was he's your like strength dex user. Quality build. He has a grappling hook that he can use on enemies and teammates. And his
Can he use it on terrain?
yes, he can use it to propel himself.
Ooh. Okay.
And then
Continue.
his ultimate is basically the stake driver from Bloodborne.
I like that one.
I don't know if you remember that weapon. It's literally just you basically can either use it immediately or charge it. You're fully invincible during it, but it just basically deals a massive AoE in front of you.
The pile bunker.
Yeah, it's basically a pile bunker. And then it deals like almost guaranteed stagger, I think. Like everything I hit with it either staggered or flinched.
Sounds broken.
The second character is Duchess, which was your dex, like squishy dex user. Her passive was she duplicates like the last 1.5 seconds of damage on something. She just repeats it.
Okay.
And then her ultimate was her and everyone around her turns invisible, which just breaks aggro.
Gotcha. You don't get to make your own character at all?
No. You're
Okay. Good to know.
we didn't have access to it in the network test, but like because armor isn't a main thing in this. But in the full version, characters are gonna have cosmetics that you can buy with the currency you earn per run.
Nice.
But the third character is the Recluse, which is your magic user, and they have the most complicated ability, which is
Oh, God.
so I don't even remember what it's called off the top of my head, but her whole mechanic is that she can absorb elemental damage up to 3 times. So it's either like what she deals, like there'll be marks that are left on either enemies that you've hurt with elemental damage or your teammates that have been hit by elemental attacks. And you can absorb them. And then based on a combination of the 3 that she absorbs, she'll have a different ability that can be cast. Sometimes
I like that.
they're like some were like one was like a giant AoE magic damage. Another was like a passive heal around like where the cast zone was. But it's a combination of like lightning, holy, fire, and magic that she absorbs. So any combination of those 4 in 3s. So there was like 14 different ones that she had.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it seems a little complicated.
And then her ultimate is Bloodsong, which I'm not exactly certain what it did. Because
Something happened.
it's like a giant explosion of blood around that I think was doing healing. I couldn't really figure it out because the Recluse was the character I played the least. But like I couldn't figure out exactly what she was doing with that. But I think it was healing related. It also applied one of the marks. So she was able to absorb it easily. And then our fourth character and final character for the network test was the Guardian. is basically your tank character, the Birdman from the trailer. His first ability was Whirlwind, which was basically a AoE swing that would stun enemies, but it would also clear like any of the like terrain effects, like the death fogs or those like anything that built up blights on you, like poison and so forth. He could dispel those. And his ultimate was an AoE dive bomb, which would just deal a bunch of damage.
Okay.
And he'd like fly up and then slam straight down, dealing damage in a giant area. Some of the important things about this is the way you revive teammates in this game is you just beat them. When they go down,
Oh.
you just run up and start swinging. Or you shoot them with magic or
Oh.
bows.
Huh.
Which is very
You
useful.
just shoot them with an axe.
I mean, you could do that.
Hell yeah.
Like that's like part of the reason why Guardian's ultimate was so strong is that it just also like auto rest all your teammates in the AoE that he slammed down on. It would also he could
well, that's
hold
cool.
the button after landing to reduce damage to everyone in the area. Too, although I didn't see too many people do that.
Does it have like you can't move or something?
I believe he can't.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But it's like he can hold the input for his ult, and so he'll basically just reduce the damage everyone takes.
Okay.
But
I remember when we first looked at the game, we thought it was like Monster Hunter, but it's Elden Ring. But I heard that it's supposed to be like kind of open world or more like a battle royale where you start on a map and then you run around grabbing shit.
You fight other people though?
no,
Okay.
Like how exactly does it like go down? Like when you start the game, what actually happens?
so in the network tests to start with, there were unlike in the full game, there were basically quote unquote 2 set maps that we had because they wanted basically a set structure for it. So you would come in on a bird basically, and it would drop you in whatever location was the starting zone. And and you have a full map. It's like basically the size of like Limgrave, for example, I think. And it would have like a bunch of point of interest marked on your map that you wanted to go and find and clear basically, because you were on a time limit as soon as it started, where after a certain amount of time, the ring would close once as night approached, which would start funneling you towards a certain part of the map.
Okay.
And this part is marked in the map. So part of the strategy is which point of interest you hit and in what order. Because throughout this entire run, anything you kill and clear stays cleared and dead. So you're basically trying to hit as many points of interest in a reasonable amount of time. And it's fairly strict on the timing. Because, so the things that matter during a run are you want to get all of your weapon slots filled out because weapons all have passive effects tied to them, like more damage while two-handing or taking damage buffs damage negation for a short time and things like this on like common weapons that may be more specific on higher ones or like more strength when wielding 2 of this weapon. And weapons would come in 4 rarities: common, rare, epic, and legendary, I believe, which were tied to certain levels you had to hit in a run before you could use them.
Oh, okay.
Which is 3, 9, and 13, I think, because the max level is 15 now. And there's no like distributing stat points. You just run, hit a button, and it will level you up. And basically, based on your character, would determine like what stats you were getting. Like the Wilder would be able to like wield strength dex weapons better than the Recluse, for example. One of my problems is that this isn't very like it's very hard to tell like what your character's scaling with. You just kind of have to get used to it. And another thing they did, which I forgot to mention, is that characters have unique movesets with certain weapons. Like the Duchess has a unique dagger moveset that none of the other classes have, and the Wilder has a different greatsword moveset when he's wielding
It's kind of
greatswords.
cool.
And Guardian had one for halberds. I think the recluse had something with the staffs.
From how you're describing it, it sort of reminds me of like how Supervive goes, where you have to like go around and like kill things to get XP, find better weapons and gear and stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's every battle royale at this point.
Yeah, it's
not exactly a battle royale though.
I mean, from the pacing and everything, it's very battle royale because a match is broken up into 3 days. So at the end of day 1 and day 2, you'll fight a boss. And you have one shot at beating those bosses. If you die there, if like your team wipes, it's game over. But anywhere else, dying, the penalty is you lose a level and respawn. But whatever kills you, you can go get your runes back.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But die again and they're lost. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you want basically you go and find points of interest, clear them out, try to get equipment geared up, try to get consumables and so forth, because you have 4 consumable slots, which can only hold like 1 or 2 of an item. So you're incentivized to like basically find a bunch of things and pick them up and use them.
That's cool. I like that rather than hoarding everything.
Yeah, because like, how often did you guys use consumables in Elden Ring?
In any game. I hoard that shit until I don't need it anymore.
Because you can carry like 1 firebomb, 1 smithing stone, 1 stone key, for example, and a physical damage buff item. Okay. So you're incentivized, and they drop everywhere from all the loots. Like chests would drop 2 to 3 of these items, and there'd be like 3 chests in a row.
I think I used a life gem once in Dark Souls 2. That was pretty cool.
You know
that I never used.
To be fair, in Dark Souls 2, you use life gems all the time.
I never used them.
Oh,
oopsie.
Oh,
I mean, so far it sounds kind of arcadey.
It's much arcade. So one of the other things is there's no torrent. You have a super sprint now, which only costs stamina when you activate it, and then during it, it slows stamina regen down. But there's also no fall damage. It doesn't matter how far you fall from, you won't take damage. You can wall jump up walls basically, and there's a lot of design like there'll be these rock formations that allow you to basically scale up a cliff, and like you are constantly moving at super fast speeds. Like the pace of this game is kind of almost too fast.
Like even the combat?
Less the combat. The combat's still Elden Ring pace.
Okay.
Like during boss fights, it's the in-between moments you are always running to basically be as optimal as possible. Because like some of the points of interest, for example, are there's churches, which give you an extra use of your Estus flask. There's camps, which have like 3 mini bosses spread out around that you have to go kill, and a bunch of gear, and there's usually a merchant there. There's like these big castles. There's always was a big castle in the middle, which had some strong enemies and a bunch of loot just all around it. There's roaming world bosses. Like,
well, that's cool.
Like, there's just dragons sitting around. Ran into the Loretta, the magic horse knight lady.
So it's got enemies from. It's not all new enemies. It's stuff from Elden Ring.
So, like there's most of it's old bosses. Like the only new quote unquote boss is the Night Lord that shows up at the very end of the run. But there's also things from the previous Souls games as well. Like the Centipede Demon from 1 shows up. But all of the bosses have been remixed with new mechanics. Like Morgott can now invade you and will just start hunting you. And
that's wonderful.
And he just because he invaded, because it's fairly rare from what I understand, but I had it happen the first night, and he chased me basically like down 1/3 of the map till I was able to regroup with my team and then kill him. And when I kill him, you get so to double back for a second. Killing world bosses grants you a choice of one of 3 usually one of 3 things. Sometimes it's weapons, sometimes it's passive abilities, like creating ice whenever you start sprinting, or like your Estus Flask heals 20% more damage or heals 20% more health, or I'm trying to think of some of the more interesting ones, like dodge rolling, creating lightning was one. Always proccing bleed, or like more damage against certain enemy types. There's just a bunch of passives that you would get from killing world bosses.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was also so when I killed Morgott, he gives a unique passive, and it pushes night back, so you have extra time to explore. From what I've gathered, because it was like the night has been repulsed when you kill them.
Gotcha. It still does that Elden Ring shit of like, here's a clue. Maybe read the item and it'll tell you what it actually does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so he grants a unique buff. So I'm assuming apparently another invasion that didn't happen to me is that you just get swarmed by ants. Like a bunch of the ants from the underground area show up.
That's great.
Yeah.
And like this only happened once out of like 9 or so runs. So it was fairly rare. From what I gathered. But and a few other things that would be on the map would be like there's unmarked things. But like I found like you could find bosses that weren't marked on your map, but there were certain locations that would have a map in them that would reveal these unmarked locations around.
All right.
One big change is legendary weapons. Like anything that was the orange weapons in Elden Ring. They return and they've been buffed. And that they all have unique mechanics with them. Like So I found the final boss's sword in one of my runs. And what it would do is on any fully charged R2, it would just create a giant AoE explosion of light.
Oh, that's cool.
So all the because you could test all of the weapons out in the training ground. Like the Melania's sword has her rune effect or her great rune effect tied to it, where you heal. After taking damage, you have the rally mechanic from Bloodborne, and then the Dark Moon Greatsword had parries on its charged attacks, so it would parry any charge attacks. But the way the runs would go is once you were funneled in at the end of each night or at the end of each day, you'd have to fight the night boss, which was for day one. It was either a dual fight of a demi beast queen, and one of the sword masters, or it was the centipede demon from Dark Souls 1. And like,
I don't think I ever got that far in Dark Souls 1.
I don't think you actually fought the centipede demon.
I don't think so either. I fought the bee lady. Yeah, I got through the swamp and then the bee lady. That's Dark Souls 1 or 2. I don't know.
Bee lady. Are you bee or spider?
There's a fire lady. Spider? It's just a fight. It's just fire. And then you go upstairs and you click the thing and you said, don't click the thing. And I clicked the thing. And then I fucked up my run and I didn't want to play anymore.
Sounds about right.
So
no, I didn't get to the centipede demon.
Yeah, his whole new mechanic was that as you fight him, you would cut off some of the heads that he had, and they would start like flailing around and then become an enemy that someone else would have to go deal with.
So for these bosses, like you've got 3 people, is there stuff that require, like, am I looking at this like a Final Fantasy boss fight where everybody's got a job to do?
So,
or is it just willy-nilly, everybody's trying not to die?
It's a little of both. Like, so one of my best runs was we had someone DC right away, like in the loading screen. So it was me and another person, and we got all the way to the final boss until we died 1 hit away. And this was before I had won a run. We had literally died and there was no HP left in the bar.
Oh,
But
jeez. Did you get it?
no, we didn't. There was no visible HP.
Because I know
There was no visible HP in it.
That sucks.
And it made me very sad. I was very upset.
I bet. Speaking of that, how is other people? It's almost,
So this game
I would.
is probably going to be
Yeah,
pretty
go for
rough to play with randoms. Like it's going to be much better to play with other like people you can communicate with, because you are making split second
Gotcha.
decisions constantly. Basically, the way I played it with randoms was because the only real thing you have to communicate with people is you ping the map. And basically at the start of each map, I would ping a location and I would run, clear it, ping the next location. And just usually people would start following me.
Dang, there's no voice chat
No,
or
there's
anything.
no voice
There's
chat.
Can you do like gestures?
I want
You
those
have gestures,
stones.
but you don't have time to do them. Because like each day is like 15 minutes or so.
I
And you
want
are
those speaking
constantly
stones.
and
The ones you throw in there like very good.
Yeah, because like basically, because the other thing is like for runes, like the acquisition range is set to unlimited. Like if someone kills something on the other side of the map, you still get money for it. So I could see strategies of splitting up working, but also working together, like just bum rushing everything is also pretty good.
Yeah. All right. I like that there's multiple ways to play. Kind of.
Yep. I've even heard reports that like some people were just like living in outside of the circle on night 2 when they were stronger. Good.
Well, they already broke it.
It was just that like they were just constantly clearing things. Because you don't have to sit at bonfires to rest anymore. It's just you run past it, for example, will automatically refill your S's and heal you. Although I don't think it works. It doesn't work once the circle's covered the circle or the grace.
Bonfire, yeah. Okay.
But there's a bunch of small changes to make things faster like that. Like you just running past graces. Leveling up is literally just walk up to a grace and press triangle on PlayStation. You just go, if you have enough runes, you'll level up.
All right.
Hmm.
How does it feel? Is this the kind? I mean, it's the kind of game that you want to play over and over again and keep getting better stuff. Yeah. Do you feel like it's got the potential for
Yes.
that, just with the little bit that you've
Yes.
played?
So the big thing for us is that we had the only access to those two like set maps, because normally each run will be randomized, and like from what we've seen, like there'll be pretty significant changes to the map. Like I don't know if you guys remember the gameplay trailer, but of that like lava underground area, like there's
I
nothing
remember that.
anywhere close to that. So if those type of areas will be changing, that can definitely add a lot, because it definitely felt like the two maps are just Limgrave.
Oh yeah, it is a beta, so
Yep.
they're only gonna do so much. I was just wondering because what was that other game y'all played that you really liked and it wants you to grind, but nobody wants to grind it? Warhammer? Yeah, Warhammer.
Oh yeah, 40K. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I played more for the story, to be honest. That's what I love that game for.
I don't think too many people are really going after that like it's a live service game,
No, not at all.
So I'm glad it's not like that. This is I'm still just kind of confused on like if this, I know it's a side piece, but is this supposed to be like a main entry?
No, it's only going to be it's only going to be $40. First of all, like it's the same price as the DLC was.
Is this just to tide us over for something else?
It's
or
because this isn't Miyazaki. It's one of the veterans from the company basically asked Miyazaki, "Hey, can I do this?" And because they've commented on the seamless co-op mod, for example, before, and the randomizers, and it sounded like this person just wanted to try their hand at it, and he basically got the green light.
Like,
that's why a lot of it's like asset.
Okay.
It's not the next main game. Miyazaki's not directing it. It's one of the veterans from the company. I can't remember his name, but he's been there since like Dark Souls 1.
He's like, what if I made the mod official?
Yep.
People would like that. Okay, cool. All right, I get it now.
Yeah,
All right.
because it basically feels like a PS2 like spin-off game in the modern day is how I'd describe it.
Does it look like that? No.
No, it doesn't look like that, like a PS2 game. No, what I'm gonna say is it has that feel of like they're trying something different with like a spin-off game in a different genre.
Like Resident Evil Survivor or Zero, whichever one was first person trash. No. I guess, yeah.
But
all right.
yeah, it's and then but to go back to the night bosses, night 2's bosses were Morgott or the Draconic Tree Sentinel. Both of them had very scary new moves. But for the Draconic Tree Sentinel, this was one of the bosses this boss was apparently the biggest problem for people during the beta or during the network test.
What for?
Because he shows up with 2 other cavalry knights, like 2 horseback knights from Leyendell. And apparently people really struggled because as soon as anyone goes down, the other people just start getting dogpiled. Because there's three things you have to keep track of. You have to keep track of both of those cavalry members and then the Draconic Tree Sentinel.
Oh, see, so it is like Final Fantasy. You gotta separate the bosses, separate those trees. Don't let them all focus you.
Because the first run I won was a dual wielding great clubs build for me. And we got the Draconic Tree Sentinel, and it's literally you just like each person has to split up and hold aggro on each of the 3 enemies in the boss fight, and it's just you have to trust that your other people can stay alive, because the people I got matched with, we never went down during that fight, and so I didn't realize that fight was a problem because it was just kill one of the cavalrymen, go kill the other one, then everyone dogpiles the Draconic Tree Sentinel.
How does it feel? Because I could be misremembering, but I feel like sometimes when you play multiplayer Elden Ring and you summon people in, there's like tracking problems with the bosses sometimes. Like, I don't know, you have aggro and it'll just like in the middle for like a third attack go after the other person and kill them in one hit because they're not paying attention and then turn around back on you. Does this feel like they accounted for a lot of that? Did they change anything, or does this just feel traditionally like Elden Ring boss fights?
It's much
with
lesser.
People?
Things seem to hold aggro easier because basically in Elden Ring, the way it worked is, from what I remember, is basically whoever did the last instance of damage had like way more priority.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, like the trees, like when the tree sentinel, I don't know what was happening to the other people, but like the knight I was fighting stayed aggro to me, and none of the other ones came to me.
Cool. Right.
So it like seemed easier. I did have one problem during the final boss.
So, oh no.
And then, but before I get to him, the other boss, Morgott, his whole new thing is that he just basically does his best Virgil impression after a certain amount of way into the fight. Where he does the judgment cut on every player, where it just creates like lines of blood flame through the air, and then you have to roll the actual explosion. And he repeats it like 2 or 3 times. And his other one is that he just starts throwing daggers.
Hey, the dagger throw.
Random bullshit. Go.
Random bullshit. Go.
He literally goes like, because he throws 3 daggers like towards a player, and then it just goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like he just spams some person with projectiles.
Oh.
But then if you manage to beat Night 2's boss, it takes you straight into day 3. There's no normal day for this. It is you basically wake up, or like after you use the teleport to a new location, you end up in what's known as the night shelter, I think. And you have a grace and a merchant basically to spend and use the rest of your souls, and then straight into the final boss for the round.
Oh, nice.
And so,
was there any? I'll go for it.
So the thing that's interesting is the name of like when you're choosing which boss to go after at the hub. That name is different than the actual boss fight. Because so the when you select the boss in the hub, it's like Triceratops or something like that. But when the actual boss name is Gladius, when you actually find it, so they obscure the name of what you're actually fighting.
Oh,
But the other thing is that
Interesting.
it seems like there might be multiple variants of the final boss, is what other people were. Well, some speculation.
oh, that makes sense.
Because the boss that we had access to was the triple-headed wolf. They were showing up in the trailers.
I mean, I would assume they'd have to do something like that because if it's a roguelike game, like you need to have variability in it, like
Yep.
every run.
Yep.
What was that like? Like, did the runs seem very different, or did it just kind of feel like you're back again and maybe you fight a different boss?
So the thing with the network test is that the maps are set in stone, which didn't help.
Oh, there's specifically
There's
set
two
in stone?
sets because one map would always be Demi Queen, Swordmaster, and all the areas would be the same. Night 1, and then Night 2 would be Draconic Tree Sentinel,
Okay.
and then the other one would be Centipede Demon, then Morgott for day 1 and day 2's boss. So none of the locations got randomized. Everything was the same for everyone, which is, from what I understand, is not how it's going to be.
Okay.
And from what we've seen, there's like going to be significant like biome changes, which will help a lot in terms of it. But like a lot of it, the runs felt different enough, especially when I was learning, is that like you have to use what you're given. So like if it gives me a bunch of like greatsword related stuff or two-handing, it might be a two-handing greatsword run. The next run, like all the passives on my weapon might be like related to dual wielding and great hammers. So I'll dual wield great hammers.
Okay.
Because another thing, I don't know if I specified it, is that your passives on your weapons are active even if they're not in your hands. If you're not actively equipping, it's all 6 of your weapon slots passives are always active. So that's part of like where your build comes from. It's just which weapons you have.
Neat.
Because another thing is that bows have infinite ammo now, and that spell items have their spells tied to the item themselves. So like you might pick up a sacred seal that casts fireball, for example. You would have to find a different one if you wanted healing, for example.
Okay.
So, but for the runs, like there's the meta progression of the relics you earned, with better ones being given from getting further, which have some significant changes on them. What I got, because I got one for the Duchess that basically caused her passive to activate on the end of her light chain attacks, which was kind of crazy. But for the
Okay.
network test, like everything was set in locations. Like the jails would always have the same bosses. Bosses would be found in the same places. So, but from what I understand, this isn't the way it's going to be in the full game.
It's going to be more variance and
Like
more
everything's going to be random.
Okay.
I'm assuming, because for example, in the full game, we're going to have access to, you're hunting up the 8 Night Lords, and it seems like you'll basically progress down them. Is what the feeling was, because the final boss, Gladius, definitely felt like an introduction to Night Lords.
Just a baby. He's a night prince.
He's definitely get ready, because what the big thing with this is if you die to that boss, the run's done, and you don't get to try again for another 30-40 minutes, assuming your next run gets to him. Because what
Is this game? Well, real quick, does this the combat? Is it just Elden Ring again? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, is there anything really different about it, or is it like, can I expect to die and get one shot pretty regularly?
you usually won't get one shot. Like you're a bit more durable. Fights definitely felt like they lasted longer even with the extra players.
Yeah.
but also it definitely still
Okay.
feels like the Elden Ring thing of status effects are going to be cracked.
Yeah.
But like honestly, the squishiest I ever feel in that game is right when you start, because you can take like a hit or two and then you fall over. But once you get a run going,
Yeah.
you can just start face tanking if you're built for it. Because a lot of it comes down to
Okay.
like the passives, like if you stack physical damage resistance and what talismans you can find, because the talisman effects.
So, all right, it seems like you have to use what you find. It's going to be very randomized from the sounds of it too, because there's just going to be who knows where, right? And all you really get control over is just like the class that you're playing, so what you scale with. What is the what did you call it? Basically, like, what do you get after a run? Like, what upgrades do you get to use into your next run? What does that look like?
So
Do we know yet?
it's the relics are the big one, and they'll have they have 3 tiers basically, and it's how many passives they'll have, and they can be as things like as basic as more vigor, so more HP in a line, to the effects that are like your like Duchess, where her passive, the repeat damage, the last like 1.5 seconds worth of damage to the whatever enemy, would trigger at the end of her light attack chains.
Okay, so either upgrades to your base stats or upgrades to specific class abilities, or just
Or-
new additions.
Or something like your starting weapon will have this Ash of War, for example, to help you pinpoint a build.
what determines like how you get relics?
It's so the main thing is for this, the only way we could earn them was just by runs. You basically
So like at the end of the run, you just
You
like get like a currency, or
so in the full game, you're going to get both relics from the run, and then the meta currency you get, I don't remember what they actually call it, can be used to buy relics as well from a shop that will be available that's not in the network test. But the thing, so the relics were earned just by finishing a run. Like a run that gets to like day 2's night boss would give you 3 or 4 of them. And then each character has 3 slots they can equip them into, and they're color coded: red, green, or blue. Like Wilder, for example, has 2 red slots and 1 blue slot. But it seems
Okay.
like in the full game there is, because there's a menu you can pull up that basically shows like a list of multiple like sets of 3. Like there's space for it. There's only the one, but it seems like there'll be different combinations. Because I got a relic that was impossible. The Duchess one I was talking about was impossible for her to use because it was on a red relic and she has no red slots. So it seems like there'll be a way to customize it. Either
Can you trade items with other players?
normal items, yes, like like that you find in a run, but the relics, I do not believe so.
Gotcha. Okay.
okay. So what are your guys' thoughts on what we're hearing so far? What do you guys think?
I obviously I want to try it. I don't hate anything about what I'm hearing. It sounds like all my mild issues with it could specifically be the fact it's a beta with limited content. Right now it sounds extremely limited. Especially saying that like your builds are only going to be like what items you find. That's I know that's part of a roguelike, but it's like my least favorite part. That's why you just restart some runs over and over. You're like, I didn't get the thing I needed to try this build. Time to restart, which kind of sucks with multiplayer, but
Sorry, guys, I gotta go. This run
peace.
sucks ass.
Can you party up, or is your teammates just going to be random? I'm assuming you
can
could
party up
eventually.
potentially. The network test did
Okay.
not have access to it for like the first 3 or 4 tests on PlayStation. Like they had it
All right.
disabled until I think the final night it was available.
Yeah, no, I'm down to play this with friends. I don't know how much of it I'd play on my own, but also it, like you said, it cuts out all the faff that I wasn't particularly huge on with Elden Ring, where there's just a lot of open, empty. Not Elden Ring did a good job, don't get me wrong, but open world exploration with no clear goal is rough for me personally. So I like the idea of like go go go. There ain't no reason to look at the clouds. You got shit to get.
Yeah,
So I'm hyped for
because
it.
you're constantly making decisions. Was like the one thing is that I never felt that like, what do I like? Is it doesn't really give you time to go like faff about. Is you always should have something you're doing or the next goal.
I also feel the problem. Like I could see somebody throwing a fit or something. And just like ruining it end of day 2, like, nah, I'm done. I'm not going anywhere. Good luck, everybody else. Which could be rough for games that are 30, 40 minutes long.
So the thing with the 2-player match I had is that it was scaled for 3 people and it was still perfectly doable.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm excited to play it with you guys pretty much. So
The one thing I'm worried about is like the price point and like what the plans for this game are, because there's some worrying things on there for me. Like $40 is already like kind of a big ask for which is essentially an arcade game of Elden Ring, right? But then there's a deluxe edition you can buy that says that it gives you additional playable characters and bosses.
oh,
Yeah, because it's the
no.
DLC. This game is
But that's separated with additional DLC. Oh, no. Okay, I see. That's under additional DLC. I see.
yeah,
now.
because it's going to add more bosses and more playable characters.
So there's going to be more characters and bosses locked behind DLC for this.
Upon release.
Not upon release. That's by the
It
end.
says this coming in Q4 of 2025 is when that
Yeah,
will
so
be
about
coming.
6 months after the game releases or so, I'm assuming. Because it's also, what, $15 more, I think, right?
Yeah, it's $55.
Because it's basically the deluxe edition of base game plus season pass / DLC. From what I remember.
Wait, is there season passes too?
No, like the season pass. Like it.
Or excuse me, I'm thinking of Battle
Yeah.
Pass. I'm sorry. Never mind.
It's the same thing they've done before with like Dark Souls 3's one, Dark Souls 2's, Elden Rings, Bloodborne's.
I'm just trying to think like would I don't know how much I would play this.
Are you going to
for
play
that.
this over Monster Hunter?
Definitely not. That's for
I'm
sure.
not, no, I'm excited for this, but I'm also way more excited for Monster Hunter.
I mean, it's also not,
Well, I mean, this comes out a couple months later. So.
Yeah.
True.
Because the thing for me, like I do not. One thing that turns me down from the game is the fact that everything is random every time that you play, pretty much. So like your build is pretty much going to be decided by RNGesus. And that's just because like I like to have like the weapon that I use. Like this is my weapon. This is the one that I use all the time. So that kind of sucks for me thinking about how this game goes. I'm not sure about the game loop. It seems interesting, but it also seems kind of it reminds me of, what was that game that we played? The one with the gunplay that you didn't like, Fliz. Oh god. It had the
First
Post
Descendant.
Malone DLC.
Oh, Hunter Showdown.
Oh, yeah, Hunt Showdown.
It kind of reminds me of Hunt Showdown, and I didn't enjoy Hunt Showdown either.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of, like I said, my issues with it are just along the lines of a lack of depth at this point, but that could be solved with it being a full release,
Yeah.
So
The other thing too is it might require more, like going into the complexity of Dark Souls builds, which I always sucked ass at. I just
Yeah,
did
me
not
too.
care. I just stacked strength and got the biggest sword I could find.
yeah. But if you can do that to some degree, then I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
That's where I'm sitting.
I mean the bosses and everything from what I can, like what I've seen, look really cool. and it definitely seems much different than how Dark Souls and Elden Ring goes. I just don't know how much I'd play it.
Here's a question. Do you think this is more for Elden Ring fans or casuals? Because there's a difference.
It's definitely for roguelike players. It's definitely what I would say more than anything.
Really? Okay.
It's like if you don't like roguelikes, you're not gonna like this. Because like that's part of the reason why I find it so refreshing in a sense is because just think of how many like Elden Ring has like 400 something weapons or something like that, and this forces you to use them, like the variety of weapons they've made. Is like
I kind of like that because I know every time I go back and play Elden Ring, I'm like, let me try something else, and the next thing I know, there's a fucking greatsword in my hand. I'm like, shit, I did it again. Shit, here's another one in my other hand. I did it again.
Yep.
So it'd be kind of cool to be like, you don't get that option. You're gonna do other fun stuff, and if you don't like it in 40 minutes, you can do something else.
Yep. Because that's one. Is the other thing is that like the game is balanced not around you having like a min-max build. Like if you do like, cause I see someone with like a bleed frost poison build, right? And just bosses keel over.
Yeah. I assume that would be really hard to do it like Elden Ring when there's multiple players. Like you can't, it wouldn't work if somebody's build is just total trash. Like there's still got to be a way for them to keep up, you know, if it's entirely based on randomized items.
Yeah, because you do find enough weapons like during a run that you can usually like pivot a build towards something. Like if you decide you want to try something, and then you can usually find enough options to support it. Especially with the passives you get from beating world bosses and night bosses.
Okay.
Here's another thing.
How do you feel about it? I'm curious. Like you're the one who played it. You're the biggest fan. What do you think?
I think it's gonna be pretty fun. The big worry is just this fact that we had no variation in the network test is like. My big concern is how much randomization and variability is there per run.
Yeah, I think that's all we're all concerned with that a little bit. And yeah. Now, do you mean that insofar as like you'll be doing the same thing over and over, or you won't get to try the same thing twice?
I would rather have to like the is just see more variety in each run in terms of enemies. In the areas.
Okay.
Is like my big thing.
And like,
because like
I was saying, that could be solved with the beta.
Like, because even by the end of night one, I was already optimizing like the order I would do things in because the maps were set in stone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that could all very well change when the full game is done. Got any other parts you were itching to get at?
Just talk about the final boss. Because he has one of the other good examples of like them designing bosses like this for 3 players. Is that it would swap between 2 distinct phases where it would be the 3-headed wolf with the sword with like wide giant sweeping attacks, and then after a certain amount of time it would split up into 3 separate wolves. So each player would have to hold one.
Okay.
The problem I had during one of it is just randomly during the run I won is that someone else's wolf just decided to start going for me.
Oh, see, that's the shit I was talking about.
I don't know if it's that person stopped attacking to hold aggro or what happened. All of a sudden, I just started getting dogpiled by 2 of them.
Dang. And you can't know because there's no communication with your teammates.
Yeah, no.
You can never know. It's a mystery.
It was just, I got blasted from the side by fire all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. I think it'll be a lot more fun with, people you can actually talk to. Dang, that's surprising. There's no in-game communication.
Like the most you have.
FromSoft doesn't have the greatest reputation for their.
It's still FromSoft netcode, by the way. Want to get that out there.
Oh, rough. Okay.
I had no problems, but there were definitely other people that were having issues.
Yeah.
Also, big problem is that
Okay.
when you DC, there's no way to reconnect.
Oh no.
So hopefully that's fixed for the full game.
Okay, so there's a lot of quality of life upgrades that could happen. Hopefully. I just not being able to talk to your teammates seems so strange when you're in a roguelike with multiple people. Huh.
Yep. Because I mean, another thing I'm excited for is that the classes feel like they play like fairly differently from each other with their built-in passives and and abilities.
Okay.
Because class I'm excited for that wasn't in the test is the Sekiro based class, I guess, is the closest thing because he has the deflects as his mechanic.
There's like 8 or 9 classes.
Yeah, there's 8 classes. We know
Okay.
2 more: Iron Eye, which is an archer related one, and we know of the Sekiro style class, but we don't know too much about him other than he has the deflect.
Okay.
The 7th class, I'm not certain of, and the final class is a summoner based one, is all we know. So it sounds
Just summons a mimic tier of somebody
Who
else.
summons a mimic tier? Who summons
Oh
a
my
mimic
God.
tier?
they don't actually do anything. But you just have to beat the boss if the game crashes for too many entities.
Yeah. You have to DDoS the final boss. All right. Any more else on him? Or you excited? When is it? March? May 29th?
May 30th, I believe. I think it might be May 29th for Steam because it might come out like 6 p.m. EST.
Yeah. But still 3 months from now.
Got 3
I'm down.
months.
I got 3 months to save up $40. I think I can
I
do
believe
it.
in you.
I believe in you.
Oh no.
Hey.
Oh, I love your belief. Send your thoughts and prayers too. Those usually help with things like
Don't worry,
this.
they're coming to
Oh,
us
those
with the
are
$40
busy.
bill.
Y'all got any more questions? You got anything you really got to say?
What was your favorite build that you did?
The two-handed giant smasher was very funny that I found,
Hey.
which does the most stagger damage in the game.
Hell yeah, that's my kind
So
of
I was
build.
going for stagger-based damage or posture damage, and then it got a little stupid.
Is there anything you wish this game was instead?
I mean, there's a few small changes I would want, but I'm happy that FromSoft was doing like a smaller spin-off.
Yeah.
To basically, especially because another thing that I'm really excited for is is what the community can do with this, like the frame.
They're gonna mod the mod.
I mean,
There's gonna be so many hacks. There's gonna be so many hacks.
the cool things that they've done for like base game Elden Ring and Shadow of the Erd Tree, like what the fan mods have done is kind of crazy. So I'm very excited to see like what they can add to a randomized, like a roguelike.
I'm gonna join a game and be fighting right next to Son Goku.
You're gonna hear the Prowler Goku beam.
Oh, I still kind of wish this was like a boss rush style where like 3 of us, you drop in, you fight one boss, then you like select some upgrades and you go on to the next. I was kind of hoping for that.
I mean,
but
a lot
this
of it
seems
is
a lot
fighting
more
bosses.
complex.
Like my
Yeah.
main theory was just kill as many bosses as I can per day, and like I was fighting 13 or 14 bosses a run.
Oh, you wanted like what's that game? Not Ico. The other one that's not Ico. That's famous.
Fury?
Where you kill just bosses.
Not Fury?
No. Where you kill the giant bosses. The PS2
Shadow of the
game.
Colossus?
Multiplayer Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, basically. But this seems interesting too. I still do want to try it. I'm just more apprehensive than I was when I saw the trailer. I'm just not sure if it's going to be my kind of game.
Is there anything that you expect them to change about the game or add that you want changed or added? And is there anything that you know they probably won't do, but you would love to see in this?
Maidens.
So small things, like small important things, is make sure you add a reconnect feature,
Oh yeah.
especially if you're big thing that they is there's no plans for originally was no plans for a duo mode, but now that they said they're considering it after hearing fans outcry about it because it was originally designed for solo scaling or 3-player scaling.
Should have been
Oh, you can
4.
play this solo.
Yes, there is it's supposedly a single player scaling. You could not do the network test solo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it kind of ruins the point of a network test if you're playing by yourself.
I mean, games are always online now, and yeah, I would think at that point just go play Elden Ring. You know, you
Pretty
can just
much.
be by yourself there.
Yeah. The only thing I wish it was 4-player.
Me too.
So
Mhm.
that'll probably.
Just every game should be 2 to 4 player. Stop with this.
I mean, I won't be
fucking
surprised if it gets
3-player
modded.
nonsense.
Wouldn't be surprised if it gets modded
Yeah.
because people have modded Elden Ring up to 6 players.
Yeah.
Because I believe it's the same framework. It definitely felt like it. I mean, it still feels like a Souls game. They still use the same door opening animation.
Mhm.
By God, I don't want it to change.
I know. Yeah, the whole Souls thing is we just want more of the same. Don't fuck it up. Just do more of the
Bloodborne 2.
same. This is cool. Yeah, or Bloodborne 2. Yeah, more of the same. You found a formula after like Dark Souls 2, I guess. I don't know. Maybe 1.
Yeah.
I don't think Demon Souls quite was there yet, but
So to go back to what I hope for is one of my biggest hope is that bunch of boss fights from the series pass, but with their revamps they've been doing. Because one of the big things that surprised me is just that like the touch ups that bosses got have felt pretty significant, and they made the fights feel fresh again. Like Morgott felt like a relatively fresh fight with some of the moveset changes that they gave him. Same with Draconic Tree Sentinel having a few new attacks. So I'm hoping
Nice.
to fight like for example, like was something that'd be really cool is the Abyss Watchers. It's just a steady swarm of Abyss Watchers.
I wonder if they'll randomize like move sets too. It'd be interesting. Oh, there's a lot they
there's
could
got
do
to be
with it.
some part of it that you have like lockdown that you load in with. Like that'll be the 8th
No,
character.
no,
It's
like the
just
bosses
random.
and stuff will have
Oh,
different
oh,
move
oh,
sets.
oh, oh.
Yeah, like Margot with
Probably
like a different
not.
weapon.
Probably not, because people don't play these games for like.
I don't think the night bosses would. The Night Lords might have variations. Like I want to use Hades here as an example. Is like as in Hades, as you progress through the game, is the first boss would have like basically 3 variations based on which of the 3 Fury sisters you fought, where they felt similar, but they each had their own touch-up mechanics. Is what I'm hoping they'll do for the Night Lord, which is why like the hub name for when you're choosing which boss to fight and the actual boss's name in game being different makes me think that there might be variations of the bosses, the Night Lords, and that's something I would hope for.
Possible. Okay. All right.
All right. I'm ready. Yeah, I think we're good. Thank you very much for that. Unless you got like any last words before we call it a good time.
The only thing I'm going to say is hopefully the community's better than some of the people in the network test.
Oh, damn, throwing shade.
Okay, that's one thing I wanted to ask. Like, do you mean better as in get good or better as in not shitheads?
Better as in don't go down, die once, and quit. That happened a few times.
No, that's every battle royale. That's Apex. That's Hunt Showdown. That's Fortnite. That's yeah.
Because the other
I think I had someone do that for Monster Hunter, to be honest.
No, because they respawn and they take all your carts.
or they take 2 carts
and
and
then the game
peace.
ends.
I kind of wish they would leave.
Yeah.
I've had it multiple runs where it's like some dude shows up, dies twice in Monster Hunter in 5 minutes, and then pieces out, making the
Really?
entire rest of the
Oh,
hunt
really?
super stressful.
No, I've only had the guy who shows up and just everything's going fine and then suddenly cart, game over, restart. Not with this guy.
Yeah, but just make it.
You want to try again? Fuck no.
Get me home.
Get your stupid ass hunting horn out of here. Or no, it's like a heavy bow gun or something. Sorry, tangent. Go for it.
Talking about a specific person in mind.
No, I'm not though. I
It's
just
always-
noticed it was always like heavy bowgun users who were just, I want to sit back and fire shit and then die.
30% more
No
damage from
mobility.
physical attacks. Always fucked them.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm getting slapped around like I paid for it. All right, cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're all excited. That's good though. Like, I'm glad to hear good things. It's nice to know that FromSoft isn't ever going to put out some absolute trash. You know, I think they can be trusted in that respect.
I'm
So,
excited.
Yeah, me too.
Let's go.
Soon, you excited?
Yeah.
We'll
Ready for a
take that as
nap.
maybe.
He's ready for a nap.
We're all ready for a nap. All right, in that case, we'll catch you later. I'm not even going to do the outro stuff, but goodbye.
Wee.
Bye.
Boing.